No new health care plan. See what's next as the president and GOP leaders work to come up with a new plan to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. Plus, new details emerge about the suspect in the deadly terror attack in London. We'll show you what investigators know so far. And
the ancient Jerusalem lies outside of what we call today the Old City. She's starting to share what she looked like to us again. So you can see how prophecy is speeding up as we go.
Exploring the fusion of archaeology and prophecy in Israel. Thanks so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. It is back to the drawing board for House Republicans after failing to get enough members on board with the leadership's bill. Abigail Robertson brings us the story now from Capitol Hill.
GOP members of Congress went back to their districts frustrated over the weekend after failing to take the first steps towards dismantling Obamacare.
This is a disappointing day for us. Doing big things is hard. All of us, myself included, we will need time to reflect on how we got to this moment, what we could have done to do it better.
In a crushing defeat for House leadership, Speaker Ryan was forced to cancel the highly anticipated vote on the American Health Care Act after not getting enough support to pass the bill from his Republican colleagues.
Are all of us willing to give a little to get something done? Are we willing to say yes to the good, to the very good, even if it's not the perfect? Because if we're willing to do that, we still have such an incredible opportunity in front of us.
But there were signs of trouble even before the bill was released, with Senator Rand Paul and members of the conservative House Freedom Caucus, like Congressman Louis Gohmert, voicing disappointment the plan was crafted behind closed doors and not in a more inclusive discussion with a variety of GOP lawmakers.
We have got to do something, but now instead of having listening sections and then going behind closed doors and then saying, here's the bill, you got to vote for it, we're not going to change anything, take it or leave it, but you can't leave it, everybody's got to vote for it. This time I'd like to see us get together with it. There's some great people in our Republican caucus, terrific, brilliant. We can come to an agreement.
Freedom Caucus members wanted to see a clean repeal of Obamacare and were concerned the new plan did not do enough to drive down the cost of premiums for the American people. Gohmert told CBN News he thought the bill left too much power over the healthcare system with Washington.
I don't think the cure for the disaster of Obamacare is more federal control, more power in the bureaucracy.
Gohmert says he's ready to get to work with the GOP conference to craft a new health care plan.
We're going to start on that next week because health care is so personal. It's people's lives, and we got to help.
President Trump took to Twitter over the weekend, blaming the conservative group for saving Obamacare, saying, Democrats are smiling in D.C. that the Freedom Caucus, with the help of Club for Growth and Heritage, have saved Planned Parenthood and O-Care. Democrats like Nancy Pelosi are ecstatic that for now Obamacare remains the law of the land. But Freedom Caucus Chair Mark Meadows says this is just the negotiation process, and they are still committed to helping President Trump deliver on his promise of repealing and replacing Obamacare.
I can tell you that conversations over the last 48 hours are really about how we come together in the Republican conference and try to get this over the finish line.
Meadows also disagreed with those questioning Speaker Ryan's leadership abilities.
I can tell you there is no conversations going on right now with regards to replacing the Speaker. It's all hands on deck with regards to Obamacare, tax reform, the border wall.
And Freedom Caucus member Trent Franks of Arizona told CBN News that despite the setback, the Republicans aren't giving up.
There are no permanent defeats in this life. We have to get back up and move forward. That's the history of the human condition. And I'm convinced that the president did not fail the country here. Unfortunately, the Congress failed the president. And I hope that somehow we will go back and understand where we went wrong and do better this next time.
Many members of the Freedom Caucus are vocal supporters of President Trump, who says he's learned a lot from the healthcare defeat, but is ready to move on and focus on the future.
We all learned a lot. We learned a lot about loyalty. We learned a lot about the vote-getting process. We learned a lot about some very arcane rules in obviously both the Senate and in the House. So it's been, certainly for me, it's been a very interesting experience. But in the end, I think it's going to be an experience that leads to an even better health care plan.
Speaker Ryan says Republicans are going to move forward with the rest of their agenda, securing the border, rebuilding the military, and tax reform. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
We're learning more about the killer behind last week's terror attack in London. Dale Hurd is on this story.
British-born Adrian Russell Ajao, also known as Adrian Elms, converted to Islam and changed his name to Khalid Massoud. He'd been on the radar of police for a decade, but was considered a low risk. Massoud had a troubled personal life. Friends said he sometimes binged on crack cocaine, ecstasy, and prostitutes for several days. He once stabbed a man in the face. But at the hotel south of London where Massoud spent his last night, fellow guests saw no accomplices or sign of trouble.
Articulate, polite, presentable, and the guy's on his way to commit mass murder.
New video shows Massoud on the ground after he killed 3 pedestrians and fatally stabbed a police officer. He later died. Officials say Massoud sent an encrypted message on the smartphone app WhatsApp just minutes before the attack. British security services want the popular messaging service to provide them the message.
It is completely unacceptable. There should be no place for terrorists to hide. We need to make sure that organisations like WhatsApp, and there are plenty of others like that, don't provide a secret place for terrorists to communicate with each other. It used to be that people would steam open envelopes or just listen in on phones when they wanted to find out what people were doing legally through warrantry. But on this situation, we need to make sure that our intelligence services have the ability to get into situations like encrypted WhatsApp.
Over the weekend, tourists returned to the scene of the attack on Westminster Bridge.
I'm not concerned at all. There's a lot of police presence around the area, and I thought it was important to come down and pay my respects to the people that were lost.
The British government has now posted special forces at a secret location in London to respond to future terror attacks. New fencing has been installed at Buckingham Palace, and even members of Parliament will get anti-terrorist training. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Severe weather swept through parts of the South this weekend. A tornado with winds of 120 miles an hour hit Cato, Arkansas Friday. It destroyed 4 mobile homes and left 6 people injured. The National Weather Service reports at least 15,000 people were without power in Alabama, Louisiana, and Arkansas. The storm system is expected to continue pushing east today, bringing severe weather to Mississippi and the Ohio Valley. Members of the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee are in Washington, D.C. this week to strengthen the relationship between the U.S. and Israel. Amber Strong brings us more now.
They came in support of the Jewish state, to celebrate culture, discuss the latest in Israeli technology, but mostly they came to talk policy.
Each year, 18,000 people descend upon AIPAC's policy conference. The unique event gives supporters of Israel a chance to get up close and personal with those politicians making decisions directly affecting U.S.-Israel relations.
And at this year's conference, one message seemed to resonate: rebuilding that relationship with Israel.
For the first time in many years, perhaps even many decades, there is no daylight between our two governments.
Last year, a then-candidate Trump impressed the crowds with a scathing assessment of President Obama's relationship with Israel.
He may be the worst thing to ever happen to Israel, believe me. Believe me.
And while the crowds responded with enthusiasm, AIPAC President Lillian Pincus was quick to remind attendees and the media of the importance of a bipartisan conference. This year, all eyes were on Vice President Mike Pence.
It is great to be back to AIPAC. For the first time in a long time, America has a president who will stand with our allies and stand up to our enemies. The United States will no longer allow the United Nations to be used as a forum for invective against Israel or the West.
Beyond strengthening that bond between the U.S. and Israel, another topic loomed at the conference: Iran.
Both our governments recognize that foremost among those challenges remains Iran. We both recognize that the nuclear deal does not block Iran's path to a bomb.
Naftali Bennett, Israel's Minister of Education, told CBN News the time to act is now.
We've got an Iran who has a goal to create a global hegemony over the entire region. We cannot allow Iran to threaten the free world with Iranian nuclear bombs. We have to stop that. Now, today they do not have those nuclear weapons, but they're on a path to reaching them.
He says it's a challenge that the two allies can meet.
We have to stop that path, and there's a few ways we can do it, and we're working on it together with the United States.
Former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair agrees that it's time for the West to push back against Iran.
Be firm, stand up, and make sure that, look, it's a very simple thing. If you had a benign regime in Iran, all of the problems of the Middle East would be easier to resolve.
And while the conference did see its fair share of protest, the group's message goes on and the meetings will continue through Tuesday. Amber C. Strong for CBN News at AIPAC.
The treatment helping patients with Alzheimer's, Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's, and more, and it doesn't require a doctor's prescription. The story's next. 5 million Americans have Alzheimer's disease, and that number is expected to grow. But one product may be helping: coconut oil. Here's Lori Johnson.
Steve Newport's Alzheimer's symptoms reversed after he started taking coconut oil. His wife documented Steve's astounding progress in her book, Alzheimer's Disease: What If There Was a Cure? This clock test illustrates his dramatic improvement. Here's his clock drawing before the coconut oil. 2 weeks into the treatment, he drew this, and look at the change after 5 weeks. Steve's story spread like wildfire, and his wife is busy gathering the reaction.
Some of these responses have been quite dramatic, and I do have a collection now of almost 220 reports, mostly from caregivers and some from the person themselves, reporting that they saw improvement after they started taking coconut oil.
All these testimonials are turning the Alzheimer's community on its ear. For example, at the world-renowned Bird Alzheimer's Institute, people can't stop talking about them.
When a patient or a family member comes in with a patient and they're interviewing with the physicians, they always have a question. I've heard about coconut oil. What's going on with that? At least up until this time, all we can say is there's anecdotal information that it may be beneficial. There hasn't been any kind of research study that's ever been done.
That's about to change with the Institute's first study of how coconut oil affects human beings with Alzheimer's. If the study finds evidence that coconut oil helps, doctors will finally have the proof they need to begin recommending it to their patients.
I think that they feel uncomfortable making a recommendation of something that they don't feel justified by the science behind it. And that's part of the reason we're going to do the study, is to determine, can we then provide that justification?
Here's how it appears the coconut oil works. In patients with Alzheimer's, insulin resistance prevents their brain cells from accepting glucose, their primary fuel. Without it, the cells die. But there is an alternate fuel known as ketones, which cells easily accept. Ketones are metabolized in the liver after eating coconut oil. Insulin resistance doesn't just affect people who have Alzheimer's, but also folks with dementia, MS, diabetes, Parkinson's, ALS, even autism. So can coconut oil help these people too? It appears so, at least some of them. Doctors diagnosed Sam Stout with Parkinson's disease 7 years ago. He soon began losing the ability to perform many functions. But 5 months ago, he started taking coconut oil, and his life changed again.
I can now write. I've written letters, which I hadn't done in 3 years. I can swirl a wine glass. I can beat an egg. I can grate cheese, all these things I couldn't do. And I think I have better balance.
He also noticed mental and emotional improvement.
I think I'm clear-headed, more clear-headed. People have said to me, you look great this year. And I can only attribute it to the coconut oil because that's the only thing that has changed.
Then there's Butch Matchlin, an American living in Mexico City. He's suffered with ALS for almost 5 years and says his symptoms have reversed thanks to coconut oil.
Yeah, I can pick up, and there was a time when I had difficulty with that, okay? Not just picking it up, but it was just holding on, just getting a hold of it, okay? Getting my fingers to go around it, okay? And that's gone.
While Butch isn't walking perfectly, his legs are stronger and about to get even better.
I have bad knees, okay, from the past, okay? But now, okay, I've improved enough that the doctors have said that I qualify for a new knee in my left leg.
So while not everyone has experienced great results with coconut oil, there are plenty who have. Enough that the medical community will spend time and money learning exactly who it helps and why. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Uncovering the original city of David. We're heading to Israel next. When people visit Jerusalem's old city, they may think it's the same place King David set up as his capital some 3,000 years ago. But as Chris Mitchell shows us, that's not exactly the case.
So we're looking at the city of David from here.
This is the city of David. Yeah. So we have the palace area over there.
Anarina Heyman serves as the outreach coordinator for the city of David.
Welcome to the city of David. It's the home to the ancient biblical Jerusalem. And up till 150 years ago, everybody thought that the ancient biblical Jerusalem lies within the confines of the old city right behind you, within the walls there. So the question is, what happened 150 years ago, and where is the ancient biblical Jerusalem?
She then helped answer that question by explaining how the city of David lay hidden for nearly 2,000 years, until a British archaeologist began a discovery that continues to this day.
Chris, we're standing at a magical place right now. This is the place when Charles Warren came through the fissure that he found. He saw something. And when Charles Warren saw this, he knew that he rediscovered the ancient biblical Jerusalem.
Was this the beginning, sort of the unveiling of the city of David in the modern time?
Exactly, because now we're speaking of a 2,000-year period where nobody knew where the ancient city was. Most people thought when they came that what they saw in the old city, that was ancient biblical Jerusalem. It's only when he found this that he discovered, but wait a minute, the ancient Jerusalem lies outside of what we call today the old city.
The discovery of this tunnel system known as Warren Shaft visually tells how King David captured the city and brings the Bible to life.
When we saw this, we suddenly saw exactly how the picture came together. And many times when we do excavations, we also don't know what we're looking at. And then we have to go to the Bible, and that starts explaining it. So it's the Bible and the excavations and the Bible coming together, giving us the full picture of ancient Jerusalem.
Further down, they found where men became kings.
Most of the kings of Israel was anointed where we're standing right now. We are standing at the place of anointing. And Isaiah says, you will draw forth water with joy from the springs of salvation.
In fact, the city of David echoes with the people of the Bible.
Abram, when he met Melchizedek, but then we get to David, to Solomon, we get to Isaiah, when he was giving his prophecies on these very walls here. Jeremiah, afterwards, when he had to speak about the destruction that was looming over Jerusalem. All those things happening exactly where we're standing right now.
More than 10 years ago, archaeologists uncovered another biblical site, the Pool of Siloam, that was fed by the nearby Gihon Spring. It's the place where Jesus healed the blind man, and also where the Jewish people would gather for the feasts of the Lord.
3 times a year, all the men had to come to the mikveh in the pool, and from there get ready to go to Temple Mount. And this is the walk, the final ascent that all the pilgrims can do again when they come to Jerusalem.
Heyman sees this final ascent as a merger between archaeology and prophecy.
Something amazing is happening, Chris, because we said that we are now excavating this road. And again, prophecy is being fulfilled, because it says in Isaiah, build up the road, the highway. And it says, remove the stones for my people's return.
One ongoing excavation is this tunnel leading from the Pool of Siloam to the Temple Mount. Haman says it reveals the past and opens a door to the future. One of the City of David's most ambitious projects is this excavation called the Givati, where the entire history of Jerusalem is being revealed as if the rocks are crying out.
You can see exactly how she slowly disappeared from civilization, because one city was built upon the other. And you could see how the city could have lost hope, thinking, who's ever going to discover me again? Until God says, but in a time of favor, nothing can stop it. And that's what we see in Givati. Jerusalem is slowly being revealed.
Haman sees prophecy unfolding.
We're starting to see in the last decade the blueprint. She's starting to share what she looked like to us again. So you can see how prophecy is speeding up as we go. It says, Hitna ari me'afar kumi, shake off your dust. Arise, take your rightful place, Jerusalem. If you see the excavations here on a daily basis, you can see the buckets flying. You can see the dust literally flying about, how she is shaking off her dust.
She considers her role in the City of David a privilege.
I call myself the luckiest person in the world, the luckiest girl in the world, because I have the opportunity to take what we see here and tell the people about the City of David, about the ancient Jerusalem. And every person that is passionate about Jerusalem and serious about biblical prophecy needs to know this.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the City of David, Jerusalem.
Just makes you want to go. Stay with us. We'll be right back. From fire to medicine to money, the National Geographic Channel takes a powerful look at human history in a new series called Origins.
Music gave us a deeper way to communicate. It expanded our palette for self-expression.
Tonight's episode focuses on communication, and in part it explores the powerful role Bible translation played in that history. I had the chance to sit down with the show's host, Jason Silva, to talk about this 8-part series.
There's a history in humans, a desire to control information as a means to maintain certain hierarchies of power. Information, when disseminated widely without limits, can be disrupting. And disruption can threaten certain hierarchies. And, certainly sacred knowledge is something that you want to keep under wraps if you want to maintain certain structures in place.
Now you can catch the full episode on communication tonight at 9. That is on the National Geographic Channel. Time now for your Monday motivation, and here's a real simple thought to move you through the day and to jumpstart your week. Consider this. It's Monday. Say goodbye to Sunday's problems and tell Tuesday's concern, there is no room for you in my today. I have a Monday to complete. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News.